Okay, so now we're ready to get to the main presentation. Our presenter, Jason Murphy, is head of JRM Consulting. Jason has an educational background in organizational management and organizational psychology. He has over 25 years of experience in the learning field, and he specializes in improving overall effectiveness of employees by partnering with Fortune 500 small, medium, large organizations. And he helps them increase effectiveness in the areas of either leadership or productivity or performance, sales. And my most favorite part about Jason is his excitement, his enthusiasm, and his positive energy. So at that, I will hand it over to you, Jason Murphy.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you, Miss Sharon. Right? So we are going to be using quite a bit of this Zoom platform today. So get familiar with your Zoom taskbar, and we are going to be using polls today. We are going to be using chat to find out some things about you. We are going to be using the reactions as well too. So get familiar with your reactions. If you see the reactions on my screen, it's to the far right end of the screen. You will see a happy face with a plus sign. Go ahead and give me a reaction now. Give me a reaction now. Show me how you feel right now. All right. I see some thumbs up and some hey, thanks so much. This is awesome. And I think it's Eel, and I've got Janara right next to Eel. You guys are brothers because you have a smile that goes around to the back of your neck, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So what are we going to be talking about today? So let me get myself situated, as I am in, obviously, a studio with some cameras and lots of screens to make sure that this is the best for you, right? So let's start off with change. Sometimes the future changes quickly and completely, and we're left with only the choice of what to do next. So we can choose to be afraid of it, to stand there trembling, not moving, assuming the worst that can happen, or we can step forward into the unknown and assume it's going to be absolutely brilliant. So for us at JRM Human Capital, we have a few keys to adapting to change. And really, it consists of evaluating your own attitudes and perceptions towards change. So this learning experience that we're bringing you today will provide you with the introductory tools that you need to understand your stress related to change, understand how you react to change, and then learn how to balance these reactions. As a result, I think that you're going to be better braced for change. You'll have a better outlook of change, and then change implemented in your families and your organizations, I think, will be much better received, All right? As much as change is disliked by some, I think that is, Sheila, look at that smile on your face. I can't concentrate with you smiling like that. You're distracting, right? So as much as change is disliked by most, and remember, this is an innate behavior to us. We are behavioral, habitual creatures by nation. It's necessary. It's going to be avoidable in organizations and families today. Technologies are going to come and go. People are going to be hired and released. These changes dramatically change processes, relationships, and cultures. And then, oh my goodness, a pandemic hits. We now have challenges rapid embracing diversity and inclusion in our organizations as it is at the forefront. So these key to changes in succeeding and failing depends on how you and you as change agents help people in your organizations adapt to and execute these wonderful changes. How do you guys feel about that? Give me a reaction. Yes? Is that not an opening or what? That's the teaser for great things to come. All right, so let's go into it. And for me, for those of you that don't have the wonderful opportunity yet of following me on social media platforms, I post almost every day when I get the time. And a lot of times my audiences give me topics that they want me to talk about. Vera and Gwen and Sharon and Carl will tell you that my posts are positive. They are about positivity. I really don't care about politics. I replace the P for politics with people, and that's what I talk about. So guess what? Every single morning when you get out of bed, my first conscious breath is thank you. Conscious breath, thank you, right? That I'm here for another day. And then I start the Venn diagram as a change agent, and I go, is it going to be a great day or is it going to be a bad day? And I choose every morning to make it a great day. So what I say here when I'm with workshops, when I'm with people, is I say, good morning, good morning, good morning. Today's going to be a great day. And do you know why? And do you know what the answer to this every single time is? Because every day is a great day, right? And you'll hear me on my videos say every day is a great day at JRM Human Capital. And sometimes I'll substitute it based on the current events that we're challenged with in the world today. As previously mentioned, I'm Jason R. Murphy. I'm in the business of organizational psychology. I'm the president and principal of JRM Human Capital. To give you a CNN overview, we have over 250 topics that we can create unique programs for you. We have over 200 license assessments in personality type, emotional intelligence, diversity and inclusion, productive conflict, that we can offer you as individuals and organizations. And then we have about 31 master certifications with some of the most recognized vendors out in the industry for over 20 years. The Myers-Briggs organization, CPP, the Wiley Corporation, Ken Blanchard. So all of those have been part of the JRM Human Capital family for years. We primarily work with about 4 groups. We work with key contributors and individuals. We work with leaders, hypo successors and executives and managers. We work with teams and groups because sometimes groups don't want to be teams or they haven't realized how they can be a team yet. And then finally, we do organizational engagements as a whole. So that's really the CNN headline news version of JRM. We're going to be sharing some wonderful links with you throughout.
Jason, I'm going to interject for just a bit. We can't see your slides, and I know you have really good contact information and all that on there.
You can't see any of my slides? Well, shut the door and then open it again. Why didn't someone say something, right? Okay, here we go. Let's see. And this is probably just as simple because we switched back to some of Vera's wonderful slides, but we're going to get you back now. Okay, how about now? Woo, woo! All right, we're ready to go. Let me do this. Here's what I'm going to do because my slides are absolutely fantastic. So I can't have you not see the other slides that I made for you guys, right? So I'm going to go back and show you. Right? Part of what I do is I love making sure that graphics come alive as part of the neuroscience of learning. 80% of us, and here's my good morning, good morning, good morning. Had you had this, you guys would have played along with me, right? What do you think, JJ? Do you like it? All right. Okay. All right. So let's continue. And there's that ugly guy that's on the screen right now. Don't worry about him. So let's move into some wonderful material, shall we? And what are we going to explore today? So number one, we're going to assess your sensitivity to change. Sharon, thank you for that. And that is why you're only as successful as your team. Number two, what we're going to look at is we're going to look at the change cycle. And I have called this, I've named this the cycle of acceptance. You're going to be really excited about this. Finally, the 1, 2, 3 punch is we're going to end with positive strategies 4 different strategies that when you're done tonight and you're in networking, you're going to be able to talk about them and implement them easily, immediately, personally and professionally. Okay? If you're excited about getting started, can I get a thumbs up? A thumbs up in your reactions. Let's go, guys. All right. So let's start off with our sensitivity to change. So change, we don't like it. Okay? If you like change, raise your hands. If you like change, raise your hands. Thank you for the honesty and vulnerability, right? We don't like change as human beings. We actually fear it, but we can't stop it from coming. We either adapt to change or we're going to get left behind. It hurts to grow. Anyone who tells you that it doesn't hurt to grow, they're not telling you the truth. Here is the truth I'll share with you. Sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same. And sometimes, oh, sometimes change as we know it can be good. It can be exciting and it can bring opportunity. So change is everything. How about you guys go first? Okay? So let's look at, we are going to do an assessment. And this is an abbreviated version of an assessment to sensitivity that I do as a larger forensic assessment all the way from individuals through to large, small, medium, and large organizations. Our goal here is to how to handle change without pain. So what we're going to do is an activity, and we're going to have, I believe, is it going to be, I think someone, either Gwen or Sharon. Oh, Vera. Vera says, Sheila down.
Are you ready?
Right. So let me give them a few instructions, Vera, and then we're ready to launch. So we are going to ask you 8 multiple choice questions, okay? 8 or 9 multiple choice questions that are on the screen. And we're going to ask you to assess whether your need for these things is low, average, or high. Okay? Low, average, or high. Vera, are you ready, my friend? Give me a go, no go for launch.
Set, go.
And remember, folks, this is anonymous as you answer this. So the results are just going to be shown as a bar graph of percentage. Okay, so here we are with our results, you guys. This is no surprise to me when dealing with a group that is not just smart, but a group that is emotionally intelligent. And I can see here where some of your needs are really, really low. I can see that we have about 23% in the need for the unknown, accepted standards, control. Really? Really? All of us don't have a little bit of control in each of us, right? And that's really control over the unknown. I don't think we like the uncertainty. And it's not necessarily that we need to control everything, but we need to know how everyone else's ability to control our lives impacts our control of our lives. So that makes sense too. Established position, and what this is correlationally driven data that says when your self-esteem is higher when you know what you're doing. When you're put in change and you have uncertainty, we have seen both forensically on a psychological scale and on an emotional intelligence scale that this self-esteem goes down, and those start to fluctuate when they are associated with other scales. Security, 5 of you said, hey, I have a high need for security. This is probably a very, very challenging time for you right now, not having that security about what's going to be happening as we move forward. And then resistance to change. This was awesome. You have average resistance to change in the group. I expected this as well. So let's move in then and let's talk about some of these things as we move through the format. Does that sound good to you? All right. So obviously, if you have a lot of high needs, right, that's an indicator that you're challenged or may have some challenges with change-related behaviors. So let's talk about this change cycle. people often make the mistake of assuming that once a change is started, that everyone is going to see it as going to take place and they're going to get on your side, right? So all of you as learning and development or change management professionals, I'm sure that when you announce a change in your organization, you're at a 99% approval rating for that change, right? Banners are being flown over the building, balloons are going up in the air, right? So probably not, probably not. And so this is rarely the case. Because change causes fear, it causes a loss of the familiar. And so it takes some time to people to do a couple things. Number one, they have to understand the meaning of the change. That's number one. If I don't know the WIFM, if I don't know what's in it for me, I do not care about the words that are coming out of your mouth, right? You've got to show me how it's going to impact me. Let me ask you this. If I were to take a photo of everyone on this webinar right now and I would post the photo, what is the first thing? Tell me in chat, what is the first thing you would look for? If I were to take a photo of everyone on this webinar and post it, what's the first thing you're going to look for? Tell me in your chat. Yes, absolutely. Jason stuffing his face. No, I will not do that on this call. That is rude, right? If you guys follow me on Facebook, though, I am an avid chef, and I was not born in the United States. I was born somewhere else. We'll save that for another trick question. So I do enjoy cooking. What you're really going to look for, and Gwen hit it on the head, is you're going to look for me, right? You're going to look for yourself, because that's what you want first, and that's where cognitively our brain goes first. So it's important to understand. And then the second thing I forgot to tell you, they've got to commit to the change. They've got to commit to the change in a meaningful way. So it's important to understand that people tend to go through about 4 to 5 stages in their attempts to cope with change. Understanding that these are normal progressions, however, I think that helps people and helps you as change agents avoid under-managing change and overreacting to resistance. Do you realize what I said? Under-managing change and overacting to resistance. Make a note of that. That's going to be important for us, okay? So now, here's what we're gonna do. Woo! We get to go to an activity, and then we get to go to breakout groups, okay? So we are going to go to breakout groups. And I think, who's going to be helping me with this one on the team as we move to breakout groups?
Yes.
Gwen or Vera? Okay.
Yeah. So one of these great things about change and upheaval is I have a great example that I'm going to share with you all before we go into the breakout, which is I accidentally flipped a switch on my Zoom settings, and it disabled my breakout function. So, oh, and now I just got it back. Okay, so here's how the breakout's going to work. So the whole time that Jason's been talking, Gwen and I have been working out how to get it back on again, and we just got it. So fabulous.
Awesome.
So, okay, so here's how, in the breakout, I'd like everyone to first just do a brief introduction around the group. Share just your name and what your job is. And the first thing before you get into the conversation, choose one person in your group who's going to report back to the full group once we reconvene. Okay, and what you're going to be discussing is reasons why you dislike change, and factors or things that make change easier for you. Okay, so if you'll just bear with me for one moment.
Vera, will they have 3 minutes or 5 minutes in the breakout room?
You'll have 5 minutes in the breakout room, and you'll get a warning right before you get sent back in.
Yes. And so while Vera is putting together the breakout rooms, remember these are the 2 topics that you're going to be discussing. And so if you want to take a picture with your phone so that you know what it is, you don't forget what your conversation is supposed to be about, or if you want to go ahead and write down these 2 questions, and then whoever's going to present from the group and share out with the big group, just bring back 2 or 3 key points that you guys discussed while you were in the breakout rooms.
Okay. And are we ready? Here we go.
Still here.
Yeah, we're
The
all still
magic
here.
is not happening.
Let me see. Close all rooms.
Janara, we need an I Dream of Jeannie.
Okay, open all rooms. So while I'm trying to figure this out, can anyone in the audience, if you want to, does anybody want to share maybe something that makes change easier? If you can use your, in your participants window, raise your hand, use your little emojis, and then Sharon will call on you to unmute yourself and share.
In my experience, I found out that what makes change easier, basically, if you give somebody a reason for the change, some kind of, information in terms of, it makes sense to them. So if they're not going to like it, they're not going to want to change. People dislike change in my experience because they're so efficient at what they're doing. They don't want to be disrupted. They want to go home at 5. And if you change what they're doing, they can't go home at 5. So that's what I've experienced.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Great point. Jason, I know we have a lot of Jasons here.
Only one that matters.
I see you have your hand raised as well.
Yeah, so I think what makes it easier for me is, I think, authenticity. Tell me why we're making the change. If it's, hey, we're just trying to save money, we're trying to save jobs, we're trying to advance the organization, we're trying to become healthier, we're trying to do whatever. Be authentic and let me know, and let me make the decision of, how I judge it or not, rather than you judging for me. And I think the other thing is executive sponsorship. Active participation, active monitoring, removing barriers, building the energy for it, the strategy of it, the urgency for it, constant communication. All of those things help me quite a bit.
That was awesome, Jason. And by the way, when is the next episode of The Bachelor coming on so we can see you starring in that?
When my wife isn't looking.
You know what? I will blindfold her and you run.
So did anybody get a prompt? Did anybody get a prompt to ask you to join? It's supposed to prompt you. Okay. So let's just stay with it in this format then. I apologize.
This is working wonderfully. Great job. Talk about
anybody want to
pivoting.
share what makes it harder?
I will share, I think, why people dislike change. I think people like, when things are predictable, there's a level of control. And And so, and there's a sense of safety and security because there's certainty, because you know what's going to happen, you know how to handle it, it's familiar, whatever it may be. So when there's change, I think that that can be a threat to safety and security as well.
Ooh, I like that. Yes. So
Also-
psychological safety becomes very, very important about the way we manage not just the P's, the process, but we manage the people, right, Gwen? Eel, you sounded like you wanted to add something. Why don't you share with us?
Oh, in addition to what Gwen was saying, so where is this all going? In addition to the why, in addition to have sponsorship, right? But where is this all going, in having the plan to see the end in mind and understand that we're all aligned towards that, because that's what we have, the why, we have the sponsorship, but also we see where do we need to take it from here. Then having a plan is huge. So we can anticipate some of the things that could go wrong along the way and how to deal with them and mitigate that accordingly.
I like that. I definitely like that. Did anyone else have something? Oh, Suzanne?
I don't know if there's a little button to raise your hand, so I'll just do it the old-fashioned way.
Hey, it works. Hi, Suzanne.
Hi. Yeah, so I think a lot of the people that I work with dislike change because of the fear of looking bad, because they're already experts in their field or they're at the top of their game, so they don't want to look bad. So what makes change easier is explaining to people how they're going to learn the new skill, the new role, the new behavior, and what support is going to be provided.
Okay. And it looks as though Gennaro, you've raised your hand virtually, and then I saw Carl raise it actually.
Good. Yeah, what I want to add is that you were mentioning, well, someone here was mentioning constant communication, and I believe it's also open communication and talking not just about facts and the end in mind, but about emotions. Just giving the space to the people to hear them, to listen them, because a lot of time it's just fear. And when they put out there that fear, so they are able to verbalize, and with that, we're able to manage not just change, but emotions, how people are transitioning. Because a lot of times what we are not, we don't fear change. That's not the challenge, it's the transition. So how are we helping and supporting the team during the transition?
I really like that. Thank you so much for that. Carl?
Yeah, one reason people dislike change is they don't trust management, right? They've been sold a bill of goods many times. Oh, this is going to be so great for you. So the trust is a factor.
Absolutely. And if I could add, Carl, to complement your prolific statement about trust, I'm so sick and tired of hearing about trust. No one really understands what it is, no one understands how to use it, and no one really understands how it impacts me as well as affects others, right? And we need to stop just talking about trust. We need to talk about vulnerability-based trust. I need to be able to get into a room with another individual or another team member and know that I'm free to say whatever is on my mind, and that person isn't going to react or respond emotionally, number one, and they're not going to take that conversation and use it demonstratively or destructively to impede the change. And so if I don't have that vulnerability-based trust with my team, if I can't even have them weigh in before they buy in, commitment is off the table. You're never going to get to commitment. This is another one of the programs that I proliferate and facilitate called 5 Behaviors of a Cohesive Team by Patrick Lencioni. I've been teaching this program for years, and I'm telling you, if you want a change program that you can incorporate this team dynamic, it works. It works. Vera, maybe that will be one of our future sessions. but I'm sure after this, you're never going to have me back again.
Yeah, that would be a great future session.
So did anyone else have any great compliments or value adds to anything that's been said already? Or may I ask permission to continue? If I have permission to continue, can I begin a virtual or a human hand? All right, sounds great. Let's do it. I'm gonna make some adjustments to my screen again so that I can continue. And how is this going for everyone so far? Is this a good pace for you, and is it beneficial information? I know I'm not really energetic and I don't normally speak in front of groups, so thank you for helping me overcome that fear, okay? All right, so let's go now, and what I want to do is I want to talk to you about what I refer to as the cycle of acceptance. How many of you have seen some of these phases before? Hands, right? Yes. Now here comes the trick question, where? Where have you seen this before, folks? Let me pull up my chat. I see someone is telling me, right? Yes, yes, AA meetings. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You know what? Absolutely. And I'll share with you something. I want to be very vulnerable with you. I celebrated my 9-year anniversary of sobriety on May 31st this year. So I am absolutely proud of myself, right? So I want to let you guys know that this change, and when I talk about change, I'm not being a hypocrite. I'm not coming at you because I consider myself an expert that has knowledge. I'm sharing life stories about how this has impacted me. What I see on here, however, is the Kubler-Ross, or the cycle of grief. And you're absolutely right. What I've done is some adaptation to it, and it's really worked well with my audiences. The first stage, as you can see, is denial. The second stage, resistance and anger. We kind of put those two in together. Then we did bargaining, and then we did acceptance and support. So the cycle of acceptance, it's a predictable cycle. Most people in organizations are going to go through upon receipt of very challenging news, which includes, and I know you guys have been on the Facebook, right? The Twitter, the Instagram, and you can see this war going on by people. And try to tell someone something, an opinion, or share with them that's different than yours. Boom, it triggers this cycle. You're going to see it. I've been doing some social listening. It's out there, folks, right? Especially if it's radically different than your own. Entering the cycle, I'm going to tell you, is unavoidable. How long a person takes to complete the cycle is critical. The longer they're in it, the less likely, in my opinion, that they will ever fully complete the cycle, and the less likely that they're going to be able to deal with the challenge constructively. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. We are going to do another wonderful activity, and we're going to talk about behaviors. I think that the only way we as practitioners can really observe is to look at the whole communication model. We know that 55% of the communication model is body language. 37 is going to be some of those paraverbal, vocal inflection, tone, right? And then only 7% is the words. So what we're going to do is, in your chat, I want you to get ready, open up your chat, do some finger flexes, and get ready to go. Because what we're going to do is we're going to look at each of these phases. And I want you to share with me, in each of these phases, what does a human being look and sound like? You can talk to me about the body language, you can talk to me about the vocal, and you can talk to me about the verbal, which is the words. So let's try the first stage, which is going to be denial. All right, denial. So what do you see and hear as someone is going through denial? Okay. Excuses. Absolute posturing, crossed arms, distant. Yes, the body actually moves back 15 to 25 degrees to show you want to move away from something. Oh yeah, we've done it that way. We've been doing it that way for 15 years. Why change it now, right? Oh, this can't be true. Absolutely. This can't be true, right? Fake news. This doesn't apply to me. I love that one. Yes, yes, do not pick me. Everyone else can do the change and I'll support them and be excited. But if it happens to me, nay, nay, I'm not finna do that, right? Blame, absolutely blame. Very, very good. These are all excellent. Cynicism, this too shall pass. Oh my God, Sheila, you did not. This is a trigger for me. Girlfriend, we do not have the time, the platform, or the energy to discuss this, right? You need to give me a ring and we need to dish, right? So yes, it's true. It's against my rights to wear a mask. That too is part of the denial that we are seriously challenged with an epidemic in the United States. And you know what? I tell people, wear it or don't wear it. It doesn't matter, right? However, the choice for me is if you come in my house, if you want to come in my house or you want to be around me, you know, I've got some rules of engagement. And remember, it's choice. You still have a choice. This is excellent, you guys. This is absolutely excellent. Okay, next, let's look at the next stage. The next stage is going to be resistance and anger. What does this look like, my change management agents and leaders? What does this look like? Oh, yes, absolutely. I don't have the time. There's already so much to do. Are you serious? Which part of me did you think I was joking? The old way worked, this is lame, right? The new thing is flawed. And really, it's a resistant behavior of, I'm not going to. I'm just not going to do it, right? I don't want to do it. Oh, Suzanne, that is wonderful. Passive resistance. Oh my goodness, Vera, write that one down. We need to look at assertiveness, Vera, and we need to talk about, as a change management group, the assertiveness scale. All the way from passive, right, to concealed aggressive, assertive, passive aggressive, right? We need to go through, that is a wonderful exercise, right? And that really is the passive aggressiveness or passive resistance and the passive assertiveness, right? Is that person will stay in the room, they will shake their head, they will make nonverbal acknowledgement, but the minute they bust out of the room, Sharon, yo girl, did you hear about that? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I don't know how they got to be a leader after 15 years. We're not gonna do that. Just shake your head with me. We're not gonna do that, right? The quiet saboteurs. Absolutely, Brian. This is fantastic. You, my friend. Ding, 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 ding. I wish I had a buzzer. Absolutely. Be careful about the quiet saboteurs. These people are the ones that are going to sit quietly. They're going to smile with only the lower half of their face. Have you ever seen someone smile with the lower half of their face? Don't they look absolutely stupid? Right? You know right away they don't like you. Anyone that looks like this, unless you live in Boca, everyone looks like this, okay? So you know this, right? You know, look at, Eel's like, when is he doing stand-up? I have to come and see him, right? So the quiet saboteurs, and what do you do with quiet saboteurs? Ask them. Do you know what, Gwen? I noticed during the meeting that you were quiet. I noticed that you were a little disengaged. Gwen, tell me how you're feeling. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts, Gwen? If you were to manage this change, what would you do differently? Notice I didn't use words like good or bad, right or wrong, because that places blame. You guys are excellent, excellent. God, I love being with an intelligent group. All right, now let's check out part 3 or phase 3, which is bargaining, right? Which is bargaining. And this is not a flea market negotiation, right? These are human beings we're talking about. So what is bargaining going to look and sound like? Okay, absolutely, Brian, active listening. Ooh, I saw gaining the numbers. Yes, yes. Yes, I love that, Sheila. I love that. It's a give and take relationship. It's what I call a give-get, right? If you give me something, you'll get something. Absolutely, absolutely. And bargaining, when we're in this bargaining stage, right, it becomes apparent the change isn't going away. People are going to find a way to cope to some degree, but they're not going to, again, they're not going to 100% support, okay, or agree with the change. So let's take a look at one more then, right? And the last one is going to be acceptance and support. Acceptance and support. So what does acceptance and support finally look like? Jason. Oh, that was a good one, right? You know what, Jason? That word, and then this isn't going away, I would actually go back to bargaining, because there's still that negative, right, or derogatory comment before that, instead of, I'm just going to do, oh, I love that, Elizabeth. I love it. Guess what? I'm just going to do this, right? Our customers will like this. Yes, this is the way from the Mandalorian, right? Absolutely. This is the way. And so it's really about let go and let's start with the flow. So why don't we? Why don't we? Okay? So when we look at this, let's conclude with some key points. Numero uno, the change process is going to take a considerable amount of time to stabilize, and it's going to work. As you see this cyclical event happening, realize that you do not want passive prisoners in any stage. That is going to detour your change success. So language and behavior becomes very, very important as you modify them from stage to stage, right? Number 2, be concerned if there's no resistance. If you go into a room of people and say, we're going to cut your pay by 25% and no one says a word, oh my goodness. I lock the door and I tell people, I will not let you out of this room until I get a comment from at least 3 people in here as to how you feel about this change. And so we have to make them uncomfortable in order to get a reaction, because they're hiding that reaction. All right, guys, how are we doing so far? And by the way, I didn't proctor this up front. I apologize, but I hope you're taking questions, right? And you're writing down questions to challenge me at the end of this and the panel, as we can take deeper dives into some of this information. I am so excited and ready for you, okay? So let's go on to part 3 then. Let's move on to part 3. Let's talk about coping strategies. I am really going to give you an overall model, and then I'm going to talk about 4 coping strategies that help you pursue and help you be successful in that model. So let's look at this, right? Jason, let's pretend that you've Zoomed for 7 years now. All right, here we go. So this is what I call Gwen. Gwen's like, I have to have a phone call from Jason every day, right? So this is called let go and be flexible. Let it go, right? Gotta let it go. So everyone's going to be like Elsa. Thank you so much, Carl. And thank you, Chris. Well, thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it, right? So this is a flow model that I've come up with, and this flow model is really awesome. My wife and I of 26 years use this flow model with our family. It has been something that when I've been doing these webinars for other organizations and for open enrollment, they have loved this. Number one is the F. Figure out the pros and the cons of the situation. So don't overly have a positive reaction. If someone has an overly positive reaction and they want to do it, stop them and say, what could go wrong? What could we do differently? What haven't we thought about? And then if someone is negative, say, how could this benefit you? What if this is the moment you've been waiting for that could impact you for good? Number two, let's list our concerns, right? Let's list our concerns. So what are our concerns? And literally, Jean and I do this at the breakfast nook, right? She gets out her iPad, I get out my iPad. I said, we're not going to talk for 15 minutes. And I want you to write down every single thing you can possibly think about this, even if it's asinine. And then we switch iPads and we look at each other's, we read. And that becomes an exercise in active listening and appreciative inquiry. And then next is, let's observe the attitude about change. When change is given, since 55% is nonverbal, how are people reacting to that? What do you see in the upper quarter panel? What do you see in the box on their face? How are the pupils dilating? The scowl of the brow, the corners of the mouth, the crow's feet? Are they moving the torso back and forth? Do the feet go in a different direction? All of that is taking in information, right? And then emotions. We have to recognize emotions. We have to say, why did you react that way? Why did you respond that way? Why is this, Carl, making you so emotional? What impact has this information had on you? Do you notice my consistent language is around the human being throughout this entire session? Have you noticed that? So I am constantly flexing and adapting my style to the individuals, teams, or organizations that I'm dealing with. It's not about me. And as a change agent or as a change leader, it's definitely not about you. The final thing is, let's weed, right? In order for us to have a great green lawn, we've got to weed out things that are going to take over, right? The lawn. So let's list what's in our control and what's outside of our control. As we look at the circle of influence, we look at, can we influence, can we control, or do we have no control, right? I do this exercise with teams when I used to have them in person. I have a large chart that's the size of my roof, and I have asked people a series of questions and have them go through it. I now do it now with annotations on Zoom. I put that circle up, I ask them questions, and I ask them to plot where they think they are on that chart. It's a wonderful exercise for you guys to do, okay? So I think that this was going to be another interactive portion. Can my producers help me with what we were going to do with this portion?
Yes.
Hello? Can you still hear me?
Yeah. I think you were going to do just opening up for people to answer.
Okay. Well, let's do that then. So number one, the first question that and thank you so, I believe that was Miss Vera, right?
That was me, yep.
Okay, we've lost, we have your permanent glamour shot up now. We don't have the live version of you, so it freaked me out. I was like, oh my goodness.
It's all the Botox I got. My face just doesn't move.
We'll play that game on our next one, right? Okay, guys, so here's what I want you to tell me. When you're looking at the flow model, look at this flow model. Tell me what you think, right? And go ahead and take yourselves off of mute if you want. I'd love to hear your voices. What do you think is going to be the easiest part of this model for you to go through? or the part that is going to be the least challenging for you? Take yourselves off of mute.
Listing
Let's discuss.
concerns.
Suzanne, go ahead.
Listing concerns will be easy for most people.
Listing concerns would be the easiest. Okay, very good. Does anyone see that as a challenge? No? Okay. Who else? Does anyone have a different of the anagram flow, a different portion that they find would be least challenging for them?
This is Sheila. I like to use the pros and cons. I use that a lot in my own personal life to make decisions on where I want to go to school, where I want to live, So I use that one a lot.
Absolutely, Sheila. And let me tell you another wonderful exercise that you can play with family and professionals is take the stance of a debate team. Tell them that they're only allowed to give you cons, right? And you're only allowed to do the pros. And then other times, switch it on them and say, all I want you to do is give me the cons of this situation, and I'll give you the pros. And I think it stretches people's critical thinking skills. I think it stretches their mental acuity and their growth mindset. So let's switch now, you guys. What do you think on here would be the most challenging? What would be the most challenging? And let's hear from some folks we haven't heard from before.
This is Brian.
The W. So someone said the W, weeding out. So Elizabeth, let me call you out on this. Tell me why. Oh, Sheila said the W as well too. Why is it so hard to weed out what's in our control versus not?
Dealing with what's outside of our control is probably one of the most difficult things, I think, for me, especially when certain things you might be responsible for in some shape or form, but identifying what's out of your control and just putting them aside and not having to deal with them, I think is really difficult for me.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much. Was that Elizabeth?
Yes.
Elizabeth, what a pleasure it is to have you on here and meet you. Thank you for your participation and your response. Okay, so Sheila, you also said the weeding. I'm taking it you don't have a beautiful garden, Sheila.
It's all cement in the back.
Oh, see? You made it easy. You went with simplicity.
Right. But yeah, I think weeding is the most difficult task. I think it's just kind of like knowing what you want, what you don't want. I don't think that's real sometimes clear. I think the connection's not real clear for me anyway.
I like the want versus the need. I think sometimes there is an overlap, right? Or a read, if you will, with what really is a need versus a want. You know what? I said this the other day, and you guys, I am not a political person, okay? I don't discuss politics. I don't even know if my wife knows whether I swing right or left, right? And it's because those are such personal choices to us. And so what I do is, as I'm watching and I'm social listening, and I'm hearing people make human behavior a rational decision based on political emotion, I have a problem with that as a behavioralist, right? Because it has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with the way people, black, white, gay, straight, the way people are behaving. Now that's where I have an opinion because I'm an expert. And guess what? I don't care who's president come November, because what's in my control, Sheila, is that I have got to get up and I have got to still seek excellence every day. I have got to provide for me and I've got to provide for my family. And this is the way it has been for centuries. So why perseverate so much? Why put so much time and energy into it? That's as much political thought you'll get out of me, right? As a behaviorist. Very good. Thank you guys so much for your responses. Thank you so much for your responses. All right. So let's talk about Sheila. This is for you, my dear, right? And Elizabeth, the W. So we've been home, right? And of course, we subscribe to Xfinity. I don't know what cable providers you have, but we have got about 860 channels. I did not know that we had access to so much crap, right? That I pay for, because I flip through these channels and I can't find anything that I want to watch. So we end up on the Discovery Channel. So I've become quite the survivalist. And what I think about when I thought about it is many people feel trapped when facing change. I was watching a story on wolves. A wolf will chew off its own leg just to escape. Did you know that? And if you're being held back, cornered, yes, Brian, look it up. Test me, buddy, right? So what happens here is that if we're cornered, if we're forced into a situation, you do whatever you can to change it, to break free, to survive. Here is something else that I've learned through language and behavior. Do you notice some people say, I'm trapped at home, versus others say, I'm safe at home? That is a growth mindset. That's another growth mindset. So what someone sees as a trap is actually comfort. So sometimes the rest of the world sees us as being pinned. Actually, it ends up pushing us forward, giving us control, giving us purpose, giving us something we need to live up to. And once in a while, the very thing everyone think is holding us back is also the thing that makes us at home. So realizing that there are options, right? Options first, and proactively exploring them is the second way I think that we cope with change, right? And this is a great time. I tell all my clients that I'm doing executive coaching for, as well as I'm doing webinars for, is foster curiosity. This is giving us the time to go into our conscious and bring it to consciousness and foster curiosity with what's going on. Let me see. I see a chat. Okay. Yes, Miss Vera. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to give you some more of these slides. Okay, building resilience. This is another great slide. And I would have to tell you that the biggest part here for me, right, the most important thing is to never stop learning, is to keep learning, okay? And then seeking support. As someone who is a huge mental health advocate, right, I want to make sure that people are seeking support and they're getting support. Finally, maintaining balance. Let's maintain balance is something that often goes out the window during times of change. Let's talk about maintaining this challenge. Here's what I want to tell you in conclusion as I wrap this up for you. Have some fire. Be unstoppable. Be a force of nature. Be better than anyone out there. And don't give a darn what anyone thinks. It's good to be scared. And you know why it's good to be scared? Because it means you still have something to lose. We forget that all that matters throughout this crisis is people. So you keep going. I don't want you to give up. You stand tall and you fight. You always show up, you save the day. But we must always remember, it is not trauma that defines us. It is how we choose to react to it, how we choose to move forward. You're not leaving anything behind. You're moving towards something brilliant. We can't change the past. What we can change is how we choose forward and create success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you. Okay, so because of this breakout room situation, I'd like to call out, we're going to move into the networking portion, and I just pasted a link in the chat. And so I'm going to call out some names: Sheila DeBrow, Brian Schrader, Anka, Suzanne Grattan, Gennaro, Gwen Franco, Jason Murphy, and JJ. So instead of going into a breakout, I would like that group to cut the link from the chat, leave this Zoom meeting and paste it in. I've created a separate Zoom meeting, which is going to be your version of a breakout. Is there anybody that has any questions on how that would work?
Hey Vera, this is Brian.
Yeah.
Do you want us to leave this Zoom session open?
I don't know if it'll let you have two at once. But what we'll do is some of the moderators will pop into both sessions.
Okay.
You're
we'll do
welcome to leave it open if you'd like, but I don't know if it'll let you because it needs to control your microphone and your video.
Jason, we have a question. Hanaro is asking if we can have the slides or a link to the recording.
Yes. So Carl is going to post some links in the chat as well right now.
Yep, here they come.
For how to connect with Jason, and we'll be sending out, if you registered, we have your email address, so we'll be sending out a follow-up email with links to the slides, and we're going to be sending a link to a survey, so please do complete the survey. It's the only way we know what our community needs so that we can adjust the content and adjust our offerings to really meet the communities of ATD and ACMP. So please, please give us your feedback.
Yeah. Thanks, Vera. I've posted the link to the survey here as well. If you want to click on it there, you can. Also, there's many links of how to find Jason. He's got his email, and he's got every social media account in the world. He has it, and we've now posted that, so you can should have no difficulty finding him. Also, there's a link to the ATD chapter website and the ACMP SoCal chapter websites as well.
And for those of you that are sending these wonderful remarks through chat, I am blessed. I am blessed to have this opportunity. Thank you, Sharon, Gwen, and Carl, and most of all, thank you, Vera. Changed my life meeting you. It was a blessing, and I hope that you guys will have me back. This has been wonderful.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you. So does anybody have any questions about switching before we switch? So we'll prompt you with a couple things. First, just introduce everyone, tell everyone your name, whether you're through ATD or ACMP or maybe both. Just talk about what your job is. And then there's a couple questions that each group can start to think about just to get us kicked off, but it's very unstructured. So one would be why the topic of this webinar was appealing to you. What in your life or in your career drew you to this topic? Another thing is, how can we as a community of professionals support each other during this time of change and upheaval? And then feel free to take it from there. Okay? All right. Thank you, everybody, and thank you for your patience with my technical problems, and hope to see you at the next one.
Thank you so much. All right, see you guys in the next room.
Okay.